All right, guys. You know what? This is. I'm going to let Have Hope start this off.
Yeah. No, listen. I mean,
the music soundtrack.
No, I'm not going for this because really, like, I mean, guys. I mean, whenever I'm going in films, one of the first things I always take away from films is always the music, them soundtrack. And I think the key things of getting a really classic movie is marrying the music and the film. And even Christopher Nolan said that one of his inspirations and one of the things that actually got him into writing The Dark Knight was listening to the Batman Begins soundtrack, because that actually inspired him to then start thinking of images and stories for it. So really, like, I mean, and also you guys like Hans Zimmer and Newton Howard, these guys, I mean, have created some crazy soundtracks. When these guys were fused together, it was like, wow, first time that two big composers are like working together. And the Batman Begins soundtrack, a lot of guys had a lot of issues with it because it was very airy, very atmospheric. But when you hit it with the film, it's just matched what that film was, because the film was really had the same emotions as the soundtrack had. But for this Dark Knight soundtrack, man, I mean, really, I've not actually heard a soundtrack that has taken things to such a new level musically ever before. Because this is not just like your normal orchestral run-of-the-mill soundtrack. Because Hans Zimmer was saying that really we want to make a soundtrack that nobody has ever heard before. And we want to really push the limits of what a blockbuster summer movie soundtrack sounds like. The emotions that you feel about the film, like you really felt tense. Like when the action scenes were happening and the music were just kicking in, like, the track, like a dog chasing cars, that, you really feel tense and you really feel like, man, this is not just a typical superhero movie. This is like, wow, like I really feel like if I'm in the city.
You see, I mean, look, guys, basically for me, I've been a James Newton Howard guy for a long time before Batman Begins. Actually, a long time before Batman Begins. Because, I mean, the first Newton Howard thing I heard was Sixth Sense soundtrack. And then, obviously, the Unbreakable soundtrack. And then after that, I started looking for all the stuff he'd done. And he wasn't that big before Shyamalan. Shyamalan was the one who really sort of elevated his credentials and everything. I never was really huge on Hans Zimmer because Hans Zimmer's style is very different. Like, he's more of like a percussion and adventurous. Gladiator was basically one of the best movie soundtracks that has ever been made, and I think it still is one of the best that's ever been made. And at the same time, it's very, very different from most soundtracks. But he doesn't make melodies as much as James Newton Howard does. So obviously the combination was very interesting, and it's worked out for The Dark Knight. I think I'm not going to jump the gun because I listened to the Dark Knight soundtrack, and they succeeded in one thing. Yes, it is definitely very different from any superhero, comic, fantasy movie soundtrack that I've heard. For sure. That is true. But it isn't on the same level as Superman's soundtrack. It isn't even, to be honest, the things that Danny Elfman did in Batman 89 are pretty, like, it's a different kind of thing, but it's, for me to now say that, this is just, it doesn't, like, it's better than Elfman stuff. No, it isn't. So for me, it's like, but I'm just saying that,
you don't think it's better than Elfman stuff?
No, the Elfman stuff is just different.
No,
you
but
can't really compare.
I know, but I'm just saying
what if you had to, because you seem like a big fan of this particular soundtrack.
Oh, no, I'm not. If I had to say, because I also have the Elfman soundtrack. Like, that Batman theme is iconic. But if we're looking at the whole soundtrack, the Dark Knight soundtrack is better.
No, I prefer this
as a whole.
I'm speaking objectively and saying that the reason why I prefer this is that my taste in music is more in line with the things that Newton Howard does. Not so much Zimmer, but the Newton Howard elements involved. That's the kind of stuff I like, and I like it because I like John Williams. And John Williams' best work is better than anything anybody does, really, for me. I mean, you listen to like AI soundtrack, Munich soundtrack, War of the... people can look at this because the euphoria of Dark Knight, everything about Dark Knight is the best ever. Everything is the best ever. When the dust settles and I look at it, really, to me, the soundtrack is excellent, but I'm not going to be jumping up here and saying that soundtrack is the greatest comic movie soundtrack.
Honestly, like, there's no jumping of the gun here, because, like, I think probably one of the strongest and the strongest points of the Dark Knight film was the soundtrack. Like, so we're already going to go to this issues afterwards. I mean, I did have issues with the film, small issues, but really, what these guys put on the table for this soundtrack, because the Begin soundtrack still is like, it's good, but only good in relation to the film. But this soundtrack, just taken by itself, if you look at it closely, like the instruments that they've used, the combinations of the instruments that they've used, and the spontaneity of the music and the directions that they've taking it, because like Hans Zimmer actually said a very true thing, that we don't want to just give Batman a theme. Like because music is a very artistic endeavor. You know, it's not just a two-dimensional thing. So giving something like Batman a theme puts him into that hero kind of category, and Batman isn't a hero. He's an anti-hero.
I categorically disagree with that.
So
An
yeah.
anti-hero can have a theme. They just made a decision not to do it.
No. I'm like, I agree with that decision, because like it makes the character much more complex. Because once you once you give a character a theme, it then just falls back onto, let's not compare him to Superman. Let's not compare to Superman.
That's what I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I agree with the principle that it's basically down to a choice. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way.
That's what I agree with. Exactly.
Your view, quite rightly, is that this nature of this soundtrack makes your feelings towards the Dark Knight very ambiguous, which is obviously what they wanted and they achieved. So if you like that approach, fine. But somebody else may like an approach where it's like they want to know exactly what to feel about the whatever I call it
about Batman. It is a complete listen. This soundtrack ties in directly to the way that Nolan made the movie, which is a man who wears a bat suit, who could exist in our world, goes out and fights crime. That's what Elfman and Burton made. A Batman, a creature who goes out at night and fights crime, a thing. And when a thing is coming, that thing has a sound. So when you hear the sound, even though you haven't seen the thing, you know that that thing is coming. That is what Elfman's music does. Is that you hear that thing and you're like, where's Batman? Something's coming. That's a very different kind of psychology for Batman. And it's something that to a degree, I miss that, but I still appreciate this movie a lot and I still like it. But that is a very different direction that you take the idea of the Batman characterization within the music. That the music forebodes it. It's like, you see, Superman's theme heralds Superman. It's a herald. Dun, 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 heralding Superman. The Batman theme of 89 forebodes it. It's like, dun, 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 dun. It's like, it's coming. Something's coming. Like a storm is coming. It's a very different... So they are themes, but they're doing different things musically. One is heralding, the other one is foreboding. Now, this movie isn't even dealing with those kinds of psychologies, which is fine. But what I'm trying to say, which what Phantom of Hope is saying, is that neither is bad. It just depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve. This soundtrack is fantastic. I'm one of the people, I wanted to have Hope to finish, but I've listened to the Batman Begins soundtrack from the second it got released till the day I went to watch Dark Knight, pretty much every other day. And that is not, it sounds extreme, but that thing has actually played in my player. There's no week that has gone by that I haven't listened to it maybe 2 or 3 times in 3 years. Now that's a lot of, like I literally know every note in the entire Batman Begins soundtrack. That's how much I liked it. You know, and I'm going to probably be doing the same thing for Dark Knight till the next one comes out. I like it, but I'm just being objective and saying that, you know what, that's my taste, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the ultimate direction to go in with the movie, with the music for a superhero thing, you know. Any other points on this? No?
Yeah, just that, soundtrack, thumbs up.
Definitely thumbs up.
You know.
And if you don't have it, get it.
I didn't actually like the soundtrack much personally. I mean that's about how Have Hope. I mean it's really I'm not going to say that there's anything bad about it, but I didn't actually like this soundtrack. I didn't really like Batman Begins soundtrack. I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, as I said, I mean, I respect this soundtrack. I respect the Batman Begins soundtrack. I respect Nolan. I respect Bale. I respect everything that these guys have tried to do. I mean, I gave this movie 8.5, maybe pushing 9. I gave Begins 10 when I came out, and now I give it like 9. You know, but I mean, having said that, this take isn't really.
No, but we're going to have a section now, but where we really
cup of tea.
Where we're going to that, but I think
musically, I'm out.
Okay.